So thank you very much for joining us today to our webinar on 3D printing for rapid clinical drug development and CDMO implementation. My name is Anna Worsley and I'm the COO at FABRX and CEO of FABRX AI, and I'll be hosting today's session. We've got two more great talks today. So Dr. Nicola Parisi is joining us from Uroboro Consulting. And of course, we've got our research director, Carlos Bendicho, or Charlie, here with us again to discuss how 3D printing can be used to improve clinical trial efficiency. As usual, we will start with the presentations, and that will be followed with some Q&A time. And Professor Alvaro Gallanes, our co-founder, will also be joining us. So Nicola will be starting us off today. Nicola is an accomplished CMC drug product consultant and project leader with over 10 years experience in the field, working for world-leading industrial and academic institutions. He has a track record in leading numerous fast-paced, technically complex, preclinical and early clinical drug product projects. Before consulting, Nicola was a principal scientist at Pharmaceutical Development Services and lead formulator at GSK and AstraZeneca for a number of high-profile first-in-human and phase 2 projects. Nicola has a first-class honours integrated master's degree in pharmaceutical chemistry from the University of Messina in Italy and a PhD in pharmaceutics from the University College London in collaboration with Procter & Gamble. He also holds the Project Fundamentals qualification from the Association for Project Management. So thank you very much, Nicola. You can now control the slides.
Thank you, Anna, for the nice introduction. Thank you, FABRX, for having me here. It's an honor and pleasure. My name is Nicola Parisi. I'm the CEO and founder of Uroboro Consulting, and I'm a drug product consultant. What it means is that I transform an API, the drug substance, into a final dosage form, so the drug product. And today I'm going to talk about equipping the CDMO sector with cutting-edge 3D printing capabilities. Let's start with an overview of the presentation. I have a few slides to introduce myself and my company, Uroboro Consulting. Then we'll move on to the technical side of things and talk about oral solid dose drug product strategies for first-time in human studies. And I want to point out here two acronyms that you will see in a lot of the slides: drug product, DP, and first-time in human, FTIH. Then I will discuss advantages of pharmaceutical 3D printing and discuss also a bit why CDMOs should implement 3D printing, and finally how to get involved in pharmaceutical 3D printing. So 5 facts about Uroboro Consulting. Was founded by myself, Dr. Nicola Parisi, and I believe that the story behind the name and the logo of the company is quite interesting. It's probably a bit too long for today's presentation, so I invite you all to have a look at my website, maybe after the presentation, and check out the About Us page, and you'll find the story there. The tagline of Uroboro Consulting is Expert Drug Product Consulting. It kind of explains what we do, and the company leverages 10 years experience that I have in world-leading industrial institution. I started my career at GSK in UK, and I rotate through 3 different sites. So I had the opportunity to learn really quickly a lot about drug product. I was involved in regulatory submissions and non-GMP manufacturing campaign, as well as GMP manufacturing campaign. I then moved on to AstraZeneca in Macclesfield, UK. And AstraZeneca was a formulation lead for a variety of different projects, all in early clinical phases, so phase 1, phase 2, and in the oncology therapeutic area. So I authored submissions for the projects. Of course, I ran all the experimental activities and for the project. And I believe the biggest achievement for me and the proudest moment was the development of a high priority drug product, which still stood the test of time because it's still in use in phase 2. I believe it's transitioning to phase 3 studies. And AstraZeneca is also filing a patent for the drug product features. Finally, I move on to SEDA PDS. SEDA is based in Manchester, in the UK, a highly skilled CDMO founded by ex-scientific leader of AstraZeneca. SEDA, I was principal scientist. I was also a drug product consultant. Was a very high-paced role, so I had to work on a plethora of different. Oh, sorry, the slides are moving. Yeah, here we are. So I work on a plethora of different drug product modalities and authored and reviewed submissions for countless countries around the world, and also been the name inventor on a few patents. Finally, Uroboro Consulting operates in UK, US, Switzerland, and Australia at the moment, mainly because the network that I built throughout the years is based in these countries. So at Uroboro Consulting, we focus on preclinical and early clinical drug product design and development. And we had 4 offerings. The core offering is, without doubt, the chemistry, manufacturing, control drug product consultancy, where I help my clients design drug product, then plan the experimental activities, and finally support the activities such as GMP campaigns and the manufacturing of the drug product for clinical studies. We also offer project leadership support, and that's because at AstraZeneca I gained qualification from the Association for Project Managers. So I use quite a lot project management tools in my projects. Then we also support regulatory submission and basically leveraging my experience throughout the years and help my clients submit in the territories where they want to run the clinical studies. Finally, we also do patent support and generally help my client identifying patentable feature of drug product and then act as a technical point of contact when dealing with patent attorneys. So moving on to the technical slides, we'll start with this question. What do CDMOs need to develop a clinical oral solid dose drug product for first time in human? I believe this is quite a complex question to answer because it can be answered in many different ways. Personally, I think that the depth, the breadth, and the timing of the data needed to develop the drug product is influenced by a combination of factors. I identified 5 factors which I believe are critical. And the first one is the sponsor strategy, which can be, for example, the development philosophy of the company. Some companies like to go into first-time in human studies with a minimal data package. Others, they prefer to have a more comprehensive data package. Then there could be operational constraints such as timelines, budget. It could be also, for example, limited availability of API. There is the scientific risk. Certain drug products are more complicated to develop than others. For example, does a standard formulation work, or do we need an enabling formulation? So these kind of things. Then there are the regulatory requirements, which is essentially based on where the client or sponsor wants to run the study, so the territory where they want to submit their submissions. And finally, there is the clinical design, because the size of the study, the dose level, can impact the quantity of drug product manufacture, the strength of the drug product manufacture, and these kind of things. Then if we put all of this in practice, we can come up with a Gantt chart like the one presented in this slide. And this Gantt chart is for a project I worked some years ago. And the objective was really to develop a phase 2 ready immediate release tablet. And phase 2 ready means that even though the formulation itself was aimed at the first time in human studies, the formulation had to be robust enough to support also later clinical studies. And what's needed is that from the start of the drug product activities to the regulatory submission, there were only 7 months, and there were only 10 months to the study start. So a lot of activities had to be performed within these months. And there were a lot of activities from drug substance side of things, very tightly connect to drug product. So a delay in one activity could mean delay in others and perhaps delay in the overall program. So it's quite a lot of data that to be generated. In this case, there were non-GMP manufacturing campaign, there were GMP manufacturing campaigns, stability studies. In some cases, when develop a drug product for first time in human, you will have to perform even more studies than this. In some other cases, maybe you will need less. And we'll have a look at it in the next few slides. So the typical oral solid dose strategies for first time in human are the development of a simple exploratory formulation, such as an extemporaneous formulation, or the development of a more robust, longer-term tablet capsule formulation. And they both have some pros and cons. So extend formulation are great when there is not much time. It can be easily developed in less than 3 months, and they are quite cost effective. They offer great dose strength flexibility, and only limited stability data are needed. There are, however, some disadvantages, and one of the most important is that these simple formulations are rarely able to address developability challenges. So let's say, for example, the drug substance has solubility or permeability limitations. This simple formulation can do probably little to help promote the absorption of the API. There could be also a problem with, for example, taste of the drug substance, and this could hinder patients' compliance. Certainly, an extend formulation needs to be reformulated in order to support later clinical studies. And the process is very slow, it's manual. There are a lot of quality control issues, and there is also higher exposure risks and strain work-related injuries. Instead, if we look at a tablet or capsule formulation, these are generally more robust formulation, so they don't require changes for later clinical studies. And they can also address the developability concerns that we have just mentioned. The downside, of course, is that there is longer timelines, usually between 3 to 9 months, to develop this type of formulation, an increased upfront investment because of the FTEs and also the specialized equipment needed. And the dose strength flexibility isn't really there, because once we manufacture certain tablet or capsule strength, then we are limited, and we can use only this strength to achieve the dose level in the clinical study. And sometimes the technical transfer is also problematic. So a formulation that works well in a non-GMP environment perhaps then is a bit problematic to manufacture to GMP. And then we have a third option that is the focus of today's talk, which is 3D printing, which I believe it takes the best of both the traditional formulation approach, because with 3D printing, one can formulate a very robust drug product that can support later clinical studies. At the same time, the development timelines are really fast, approximately 1 month, and it's a very cost-effective way to reach the clinic. The process is automatic, so there is more control over the formulation, and it's also pretty straightforward. And as we can see from the diagram, there is the preparation of the pharma ink, then printlets are 3D printed, and this can be 3D printed directly into their primary packaging. So there is a really great dose strength flexibility. The technical transfer are usually quite smooth, because once a recipe is created on one printer, it can be simply transferred to other printers of the same type. And also the drug product design could be fairly complex. They can look at ways to improve the bioavailability, changing the shape, the size, and the release profile of the drug product. Overall, the process is very safe. So in a nutshell, 3D printing increases the efficiency of the process of drug product design and development, and allow to achieve clinical milestone very, very quickly. In this slide, I'm comparing the 3 different approaches. And you can visually see straight away that a 3D printed formulation is probably a very good idea in most cases, because the development timelines are really, really short. It's a very cost-effective way to manufacture drug product. It offers incredible dose strength flexibility and can also address developability challenges of the API. Furthermore, there is no need to reformulate to support, for example, a phase 2 study. And this brings me to the next question, because many of my clients, when discussing the possibility of a 3D printed drug product, ask me, but what would happen if I have a 3D printed drug product in phase 2 and I want to move on to later clinical phases? I usually show this data, which is non-confidential, is published in the literature, and it's a clinical study on 12 healthy volunteers, which were those with 3D printed sildenafil tablets and a marketed standard tablet formulation. And we can see the release profile in the graph, and it's apparent visually already that there is potential bioequivalence between the two tablets. And then after the calculations have been done, the bioequivalence was demonstrated according to the latest ICH guidelines. Furthermore, the 3D printed tablets adhere to the compendial quality control requirement. So this data set is quite a strong study, because it shows that a 3D printed tablets could be switched to a standard tablet relatively easily, and the performance will be very, very similar. And in fact, these two tablets were bioequivalent. So why CDMOs should invest in 3D printing? Apart from all the technical aspects that we have just discussed, there is an opportunity here, because this capability can offer increased flexibility and can certainly open up new business opportunities. And this is simply because a faster and cheaper pathway to the clinic will attract more clients. And these clients could be biotechs that, for example, want to reach a first-time-in-human study on tight timelines or budget. Could be also larger pharmas that perhaps they have multiple first-time-in-human projects and they want to screen them through pretty quickly. Also, the reprinting for drug products is relatively new, so there are a lot of IP opportunities. And finally, the cost of goods is lower than typical manufacturing equipment, which means that a 3D printer is generally cheaper than a tableting machine, an encapsulator, or a roller compactor, for example. So the return on investment is quite compelling. Finally, 3D printers are already used by major CDMOs and pharmaceutical companies, and for sure, more CDMOs and pharma companies will equip themselves with 3D printers in order to stay in line with what's happening in the field, really. So getting involved in pharmaceutical 3D printing, apart from the obvious work with FABRX that I'm doing here, in my day-to-day life, I promote 3D printing as a potential drug product strategy for clients. And when it's appropriate from the technical point of view, I connect them then with CDMOs, which offer 3D printing capabilities. And for sure, if you want to get in touch, perhaps you are a project manager or a lead formulator from a biotech, a pharma company, you're thinking like that you would like to try to introduce 3D printing into your projects, I will be more than happy to be contacted. Or perhaps you are a business development person from CDMO, wants to know more about this field. My email is here on this slide. You can visit my website and contact me using the contact form, or I'm more than happy to be contacted on LinkedIn directly. So this is my last slide, sorry. And just want to thank you all for your time, for listening to this presentation, and looking forward now to Charlie and listen what he has to say on this topic.
Thank you very much, Nicola. That was a really fascinating presentation. So next up, we have Carlos Bendicho, our own research director here at FABRX. So Carlos holds a PhD in pharmaceutical technology from the University of Santiago de Compostela, and with experience as a registered pharmacist in Spain's healthcare system, he now leads FABRX research, advancing automated compounding solutions. And today, Carlos is going to share his expertise leveraging 3D printing for clinical studies. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Anna, for your presentation. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you, Nicola, for joining us to the webinar. And well, for those who don't know me, my name is Carlos Bendicho. Everyone calls me Charlie. So if you approach me, you can also call me Charlie. I'm a pharmacist by training, and I have a PhD in pharmaceutical technology. And after years of working in the healthcare field, now I work at FABRX, focusing on helping our partners, including CDMOs and pharmaceutical companies, leveraging with 3D printing technologies to bring more agile, personalized, and efficient solutions into clinical drug development and manufacturing. So I want to start the presentation talking about the pharma landscape. The pharma landscape is changing really fast. We are seeing a wave of innovation with trends such as AI, wearables, mobile health technologies, telemedicine, or even the rise of decentralized manufacturing. And in particular, this affects to the clinical trial world. There is an increasing demand across the industry for faster clinical development cycles as companies need to move quickly from discovery to market to remain competitive. Personalized medicine and patient-centric therapies are becoming a new standard, pushing us toward more flexible and adaptable manufacturing processes. Agile supply chains and decentralized models are essential to meet the needs of modern clinical programs. And of course, the pressure is also on to achieve more cost-effective development, especially for niche indications and orphan drugs. But of course, traditional manufacturing methods were never designed for the level of speed and flexibility of today's clinical trials. So batch manufacturing processes are rigid, and adapting them for new formulations or trial requirements can be both time-consuming and costly. A scale-up requires and demands significant investment and long lead times, which can slow down clinical programs. And traditional manufacturing lines struggle to accommodate customization of the dosage form during the clinical trials. So this lack of flexibility also affects how quickly we can iterate, for example, in adaptive clinical trials. So this is where 3D printing is emerging as an enabler for clinical drug development and manufacturing. It allows to automate the manufacturing process and the quality control, reducing the variability and improving consistency. It also enables true on-demand production, whether you need materials for a single patient or a specific clinical cohort or a small-scale adaptive trial. And 3D printing also accelerates formulation prototyping. Instead of waiting weeks or months, as Nicola said, to set up a new batch, you can iterate quickly, testing new formulations with different release profiles or even dose strengths within the same day. And this opens a door to a whole new level of personalization, from variable dosing to tailored drug combinations and beyond. And because 3D printing is inherently switched to small batch and variable batch production, it aligns perfectly with the needs of a CDMO. So the impact potential of 3D printing in clinical drug development and CDMO operations is significant. 3D printing can significantly shorten time to clinic by enabling rapid on-demand production of trial materials. It supports adaptive clinical trials through easy formulation adjustments and drives down costs for low-volume manufacturing. That it's ideal, as I said, for orphan drugs or personalized therapies. And additionally, it paves the way for distributed or point-of-care manufacturing, simplifying supply chains and improving patient access. So how can we integrate a 3D printer or the 3D printer, the 3D printing workflow into the CDMO workflow? So it's a very easy process. It contains 4 steps. The first step would be the pharma preparation, where the formulation is developed and optimized for printing. Next, the dose strength selection allows you to customize the medication dose to meet the specific clinical needs. Then comes the printing process itself, where the medication is manufactured. And finally, the dosing and packaging ensures the finished product is ready for clinical use. So together, these steps enable the 3D printing. Like these steps are just what we need for 3D printing. So we're going to go step by step, starting with the pharma preparation. So I'm going to show you our software and how is the workflow to prepare medication with 3D printing. So first, the software tells you exactly how to prepare the pharma ink, including SOPs for its preparation. You simply wait and mix the excipients with the drug using a standard compounding mixer, and you fill the syringe, print the label, and apply it to the syringe to keep the traceability of the batch. So currently, the implementation for making these pharma inks and printing is very straightforward, as the materials for pharma ink manufacturing, the consumables for the printing process, and the primary packaging are easily accessible for several manufacturers. So then comes the dose strength selection. So our software allows for simple and efficient management of the manufacturing orders. You can either enter a new order manually, as in the video, or you can also integrate it with your internal orders management system. So here you will select the dose, the quantity, and next is the printing process itself. So once the pharma ink is ready, you simply select the order, and the software will automatically arrange the doses in the packaging. For example, these capsules. The printer will scan the QR code of the syringe, and if it matches, we will be able to load the syringe into the print bed. And finally, in the software, you will just click print and enter your password to start the printing process. So now you can use different technologies with the same printer. First and most obvious is 3D printing, that is building the dosage form layer by layer and allows for the creation of custom shapes, sizes, and release profiles. However, this is a bit technical and time-consuming. So with the same system, we also support filling technologies, such as capsule filling, for example. So we use thermoreversible inks, which are solid at room temperature and become liquid when heated. And this allows the precise dosing into each capsule. And once the pharma ink contacts the capsule cell, it solidifies again. And the dose can be varied depending on the volume filled in the capsule. With the same technology, you can also produce tablets and trophies using a blister filling approach, where the final dosage form is printed directly into the blister packing to be dispensed to the patient directly. And after the printing, the blister is sealed using a thermosealing machine and labeled with a QR code to maintain traceability. And similarly, you can use mold filling, that it's the same technology as blister filling, and allows you to use different kind of molds to produce larger batches of tablets, trophies, or lozenges using reusable silicone molds. Finally, the printer also supports suppository and vaginal ovule filling using the same thermoreversible ink technology. So while you are printing, from our software, you can monitor the entire printing process, including weight, tracking, and pressure monitoring in real time. And once printing is complete, you simply pack the dosage form into its final packaging, and the software then automatically generates a comprehensive report, including data such as weights, temperatures, or pressure values, ensuring the full traceability of the batch and the quality assurance. So for this workflow, you can use both our 3D printers, Medimaker 1 and Medimaker 2. The main difference is the number of printheads. Medimaker 1 has 1 printhead, and Medimaker 2 has 3 printheads for making polypills and different drug combinations. The software that I've been talking about is called Medimaker Studio, and lets you control the printers and several features like excipients and protocol libraries, protocol sharing. You can auto-load protocols with QR and barcode printing and scanning. You have automatic auditing with batch recording and data collection. And you have 2 modes: the research mode, where you can tweak all the parameters of the printing process and composition of the pharma inks, and the clinical modes to produce the medicines with a validated pharma ink process. And in addition, we have implemented inline quality control systems to ensure the quality of printed medicines, with a balance for weight, pressure sensor for pressure monitoring the whole process, and a near infrared sensor for concentration measurement. So finally, the medication is ready to be dispensed to the patient. And just to finish, we are working with partners all over the world to expand the use of 3D printing technologies for pharmaceuticals in clinical trials. We are leading the implementation in Europe and expanding in the US, where we founded FABRX Incorporated last year. And if you are a CDMO or a pharmaceutical company and are interested in implementing 3D printing in your manufacturing workflows, feel free to contact us, and we will be very happy to assist you. So thank you very much. I'm ready for the questions.
Thank you very much, Charlie. That was really exciting to hear. So thank you very much for our speakers today, for both of the great presentations. We can take some questions, so please write them in the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar, and we can get through as many as possible in the next few minutes. So our first question is directed to Charlie. Which materials do you use in 3D printing?
So we use different excipients that are already approved by the agencies. We can use, for example, for the videos that I saw, we were using materials based on polyethylene glycol, but we have used many materials. So if you want more information, you can email me and we can have a chat, or I can show you more excipients that you can use in your 3D process.
Thank you, Charlie. So the next question is, does FABRX provide contract research services for the design and development of 3D printed formulations? So I can take that one if no one else takes that. So the answer is yes, we do. So we can do fee-for-service projects for larger, kind of more private projects, or if you are happy for us to share the developed protocols with other pharmacies, for example, we can develop it as part of our normal processes. So please do get in touch for that. The next question is again for Charlie. How are you sure that the formulations have the correct dose?
So we develop the formulations and then we test them. We characterize, fully characterize all the formulations that we work and we implement in clinical hospital or pharmacies. So we do drug loading, we do dissolution, we do a stability test for 6 months. So everything is tested before starting the implementation.
Thanks, Charlie. So Nicola, here's one for you. How can CDMOs support pharmaceutical companies in integrating 3D printing into their processes?
Oh yeah, good questions. I think that first of all, probably CDMOs need to build their know-how and build the expertise internally. And once they are in that position, they can probably guide pharmaceutical companies towards these relatively new technologies. It could be through, for example, something like we're doing today now, like a webinar. It could be through a presentation, perhaps on-site visits to actually see so that people can see how 3D printing works and perhaps printers in operation in a non-GMP or GMP environment.
Thank you very much, Nicola. So Charlie, why does it take 1 month to develop a formulation?
So we can develop and iterate with formulation compositions in less than a month. It's with the basis that we are working with. It's very easy to iterate, and even the same day you can have many different formulations. It takes 1 month because we always ensure the quality of the formulation that we are preparing. So we test the stability and also dissolution, as I said, drug content, and many other quality control techniques.
Thanks. Nicola, here's one for you. How does 3D printing change the way we approach drug formulation and development?
Right. I think that it gives us another option among the typical strategies that formulators were used to, because as shown in my presentation, typically it was like every company would be like, yeah, we'll go for an XTEM formulation, or we'll go for a tablet or a capsule formulation. But now that we have 3D printing in the game, all of this is shifting because there is a third option. Is actually a very good option because we have seen that offers many advantages over the traditional formulation approaches. So it's great to have 3 potential options rather than the standard 2.
Thank you. Charlie, which kind of excipients are you working with, and are they approved by the Pharmacopoeia?
Yeah, I think this question is similar to the first one.
Very similar, yeah.
Yeah. So the excipients we are working with are normal excipients that you can use for other applications, and we don't use like investigation excipients for going into clinics. Everything is approved by Pharmacopoeia.
Thank you. And then following on from that, how can 3D printing technology be used for oncology drugs?
You want me to answer?
Yes, thanks.
So we have a lot of partnerships working with oncological drugs. One of our biggest partnerships is Hospital Gustave Roussy in France, in Paris. They are an oncological hospital and one of the biggest in the world, and they are using several of our machines every day to produce flexible medicines and combinations of drugs for their patients. So I think it's very, very useful for oncological treatment.
Thank you. The next one's for you, Alvaro. Do you have any products on the market through your partners?
Not really. Obviously, the medicines that the printers are manufactured in pharmacies and hospitals are taken by patients nowadays. So we have printers in pharmacies and hospitals, but these medicines, they don't need a specific license. So we don't have a commercialized product right now. This approach of using 3D printing for first-in-human clinical trials is something relatively new. We started to promote this in the last year, so we didn't have literally enough time to get into the market with these drugs yet.
Thanks. Nicola, next one's for you. What determines the technical suitability that you use to direct your clients to use 3D printing?
So yeah, we normally look at the physical-chemical properties of the drug substance. We look also at the modality that the client wants to use for the delivery is, for example, standard absorption profile that they're looking at, or they need a modified release. So we kind of put all these technical aspects one against the other in a quality target product profile, so that we have all the criteria that the clients wants to see in the drug product. And then we see like, okay, can tablet formulation achieve this criteria in this document? And it's a sort of paper-based approach. And if 3D printed seems to be on paper the best option, and then we go for it. And but yeah, from technical perspective, certainly it would be physical-chemical properties, type of formulation needed, and a release profile.
Thank you. Charlie, how do 3D printed tablets adhere to QC requirements, especially the tablets produced by FDM technology?
So we treat 3D printed tablets as a normal tablet. We follow the pharmacopoeia requirements for tablets, or for the monogram for tableting. So we don't do like different tests for 3D printing formulations than for traditional formulations, and the same for FDM tablets.
If I can add, so FDM is a fused deposition modeling technology. It's a specific type of 3D printing technology where the material that you include inside the printer, the pharma ink, is a filament. So to make this pharma ink, you need a hot melt extruder. And this filament that you make with the hot melt extruder contains the drug and the excipients, and then you print with that filament. FDM is probably the worst technology to test in quick development of medicines in a CDMO. Here we are talking mainly about semi-solid extrusion. In semi-solid extrusion, the cartridge or the pharma ink, it goes inside a disposable syringe. You just mix the drug and excipients together, put it inside the syringe, and print. It's very easy, straightforward, but FDM probably is not the right approach for this. FDM is suitable and it works very well, for example, for drug-loaded medical devices. And we have some studies running with the different companies for different type of drugs that you implant inside the body of patients, and the drug release over a period of time could be weeks or months. But as I said, FDM is probably not the right option for CDMO manufacturing.
Thank you. And just to add to that as well, we do offer SOPs for cleaning, for example, QC testing, etc., for all of the different technologies we offer, whether it is FDM or SSE. So the next question is for you, Alvaro. Are there any active clinical trials investigating the use of 3D printer technology to simplify complicated polypharmaceutical regimes within mental health demographics, such as patients affected by cognitive conditions such as dementia?
I'm not aware about that. We are, as a company or with our partners, I don't think we are involved in something related with that. Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong. Most of the applications that we are involved are related with pediatric medicine. And normally this is not a high priority, this mental health, cancer treatments, rare diseases, medicines with narrow therapeutic index, polypharmacy, like drug combination in one tablet or in one capsule, for chemotherapy as well, but for mental health is something quite unexplored from our side. I don't know if other research groups or other companies are doing something similar to that.
Yeah, I've not heard anything specifically for dementia and that sort of thing per se, but one of the largest clinical studies that's happening, like Alvaro mentioned, is for oncology, combining two medications, anti-cancer and anti-side effect, to make it easier for patients to take. So kind of similar, but not quite the same. So Alvaro, next question's for you as well. What are the potential economical and environmental benefits from using 3D printed pharmaceuticals in comparison to traditional current methods of medicine supply?
If we're talking in clinical trials, clinical development, our vision is that these pharma printers are going to be closer to the patient. So if we are thinking about adaptive clinical trials, we have one cartridge, we put the cartridge, the pharma ink inside the printer, and we can change the dose for these patients from one day to another. So considering the clinical output from these patients, one day, next day we can give a different dose, higher or lower dose. So we are reducing time, reducing waste of material, because we don't need to make like big batches of medicines, final medicines. We just need to make a batch of pharma ink, and with this batch of pharma ink, we make a wide range of doses. Also, compared to other formulations where you can dose like liquids, you are increasing acceptability of these formulations, because you can have only one formulation, one tablet or one capsule, instead of several milliliters of a solution, or asking the patient to take multiple capsules or multiple tablets. So I think the waste reduction is one of them, and also the time saving in terms of basically stability studies.
Thank you very much. The next one is for Charlie and Alvaro. What quality assurance and aseptic considerations are required for 3D printed pharmaceuticals delivered at dispensary level?
I can go. So we are not talking about aseptic. Obviously, if we are talking about clinical study, we need to be in a GMP room, and the GMP has different conditions. But these oral formulations are not considered aseptic formulations, so it's not a aseptic unit. We are not thinking about injectables, it's oral formulations. So obviously we need to comply with the GMP regulation, but just for clinical studies. If we are not considering clinical studies and we are just thinking about using this medication for, these printers for compounding medication, it goes under compounding regulation. So there is no aseptic regulation at all, or even not GMP regulation.
Thank you very much. Charlie, next one's for you. Can medicines that are required to be administered orally several times a day be printed within a lattice type structure in one pill, in order to streamline administration to single daily events?
So yeah, I mean, it's possible to do it. With 3D printing, we definitely we can do it. For FDM, fluid deposition modeling, DPE, direct powder extrusion, it's something that it's already been tested, and it's I think there are several publications working and changing in fields and the structure of the medicine to control release and make different kind of releases. With semi-solid extrusion is something that we could do, but the thing is that for production, once you develop that and it goes to the production and trial phase, maybe it's harder to comply with all the quality requirements, as it's like complicated, it's going to be slower, and yeah, I think it's possible, but it's
I wouldn't recommend that as well, because also the physical appearance of this type of medicines for patients taking them is something that we ask people, potential patients, about how they would feel taking this type of medicines. And sometimes the answer is not really positive. So I wouldn't go for that. It's possible, but I wouldn't do that.
Thank you. Alvaro, what MHRA obstacles need to be overcome in order for such technology to be rolled out within the UK?
In the UK, well, this technology is it's tested, it's been tested in several hospitals in the UK. The UK, compared to other countries like US or other countries in Europe where compounding is quite common, compounding or making formulations in hospitals or pharmacies is not so common. The compounded formulations are what in the UK are called pharmaceutical specials, and they are normally manufactured in companies, external companies that distribute these pharmaceutical specials to pharmacies and hospitals. So it's not so common. I think companies doing pharmaceutical specials should embrace this technology, or move the production to hospitals and pharmacies is going to take longer. There is a new regulation in the UK that is called point of care and modular manufacturing. Is the first regulation especially designed or having in mind 3D printing, where you are going to have like multiple printers, even hundreds of printers in different locations, and you are going to manufacture medicines, but regulators, inspectors are not going to inspect all the manufacturing facilities. They are going to inspect only one central facility that is is called control or central site. And this manufacturing facility is going to, this control facility is going to control the rest of the manufacturing facilities. So this new regulation is going to make easier the implementation of 3D printing. Is going to start in place in July. So we will see in the next coming months how this is going to be implemented. I think regulation is going to change as well in Europe and in the US. But as I said, this can be implemented through compounding regulation, but having a more suited regulation for this can help as well.
Thank you. And following on from that, can you work with large volumes? And if yes, what is the minimum batch size and max?
So the minimum batch size could be 1 tablet. We can make 1 tablet with different doses. It's just to have enough material in the cartridge to print. The maximum, the syringes that we use are normally around 25 milliliters, and depending on the doses, we can print like 100 capsules. So with 1 syringe, 100 capsules in less than 10 minutes. That's the standard way of printing for us. I think you could print in one day in the order of thousands of tablets, all of them personalized, changing dose or changing the different type of blisters, capsules, like Charlie mentioned. But this technology is not designed to compete with tableting. So we are talking about thousands of tablets per day.
Thank you. The next one's also for Alvaro and Charlie. Could 3D printing technology facilitate blinding of blind and or placebo-controlled trials? And how would you overcome the need to quality assure a printed pharmaceutical without breaking the blind to researchers?
I mean, it's possible to extrude the materials inside the capsules, and these capsules could be any type of capsules. So you could use capsules that are blind capsules. We have some interesting projects where we want to actually blind the formulation that is inside, so we can extrude something with the drug or something that is placebo with no drug. So the formulations are going to have, or they have all the same weight, but the range of doses can go from 1 milligram to 100 milligrams. All the formulations weigh the same, but the dose completely changes. So it's possible to do that. And it's very easy because at the end you close the capsule and you don't allow the patients to open the capsule.
Thank you. And Charlie, how do you match the release profile if excipients are different for the 3D printed and conventional IR tablets?
So normally, if you go for immediate release, we have many materials that we can use to match the release profile for conventional tablet. If it's a controlled release tablet, you can also choose from a wide variety of excipients to control the release. So there is a wide variety of materials to use, and we just compare the 3D printed tablet dissolution with the conventional tablet dissolution.
Thank you. And what is the shelf life of these layer by layer gel type pharmaceutical forms? So that's for you again, Charlie.
So for the gel forms that I showed in the video, I think we studied the stability for 3 months. We are extending the study to 6 months, but yeah, at least they are stable for 3 months or so. And we tested them with some drugs that could be like degraded, and if you use them in solution or suspension, they don't have very high shelf life, and we have 3 months of stability.
Thank you. And then following on from that, this is for Nicola and Alvaro. For the stability of the pharma ink, is this something that the pharma company or CDMO needs to provide for clinical trials? And in this case, does it still need to be considered?
Well, since we are implementing this technology, we are highly cautious to show that everything is to the highest standards. So we do stability and we do dissolution, but we do just the stability of the cartridge and maybe one of the formulations or 1 or 2 doses, but we don't need to do a stability of the full range of doses. But yeah, we do stability. If the aim is to prepare the formulation and print it the same day and give it to the patient the same day, maybe it's not necessary, but we still do it because we want to have data.
Thank you. And the final question now, because we've run out of time, unfortunately. This one's for Charlie. What type of packaging materials can be used for these pharmaceutical forms?
So we use normal blister packing that are. We tested many materials for blister packing, but all of them are suitable for the forms that we are doing. Right now we are using normal blister packing that you can buy from any provider.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for today. But thank you to all our speakers for the presentations and the Q&A at the end there. We've had over 100 attendees to this webinar, so that's really exciting. And thank you very much for joining. So please do get in touch if you have any further questions or if you want to get started and need our help. Thank you very much and goodbye.